Good evening, everybody. My name is Kayla, and I am one of the admissions advisors as well as our placement coordinator here with National Training Truck Driving School. I'd like to thank you guys all for joining us tonight. Got a great webinar lined up here for you. We have a special guest with us tonight, Frank Bradley with Covenant Logistics. We'll get with him here in just a minute. We're going to cover a few things first before we hand the reins over to him. So as people are still signing on, we're going to go over a little bit of the housekeeping here. You might be joining us from your desktop computer, maybe your laptop, or even your tablet or smartphone. There's a few icons that we're going to discuss. The first one is going to be the orange or red or maybe even green microphone. I do have everybody muted currently. We will open up those lines here in just a little while so you guys are able to ask. Number 2 icon is going to be your green hand. So if I'm ever going too fast or you want us to cover a topic a little more in depth, you can raise that hand. If I can get everybody to go ahead and raise their hands for me, that way I know you guys can hear me. Thank you, Bryant. Thank you, Tafari. Thanks, Nelson. Good to see you on here, Nelson. Nelson's one of our students now. Murphy and Susan, if you guys can hear me, go ahead and raise your hand. All right, thanks, Murphy. All right, and I can put everybody's hands down with the click of a button. Number 3 is going to be your question icon. So if you have any questions that you want me to cover while we're working here, you can go ahead and type those into the question box and I'll be happy to answer them for you. There's also a camera option on some people's if they have a webcam. We aren't going to have the cameras on tonight just because those of you joining us from a more rural location might have a bandwidth issue and we want to make sure everybody can hear us okay. So we're going to go over a little bit about who we are here at National before we hand the reins over to Frank. We were incorporated in 1978 as a proprietary post-secondary vocational education institution. We are committed to providing a strong curricula with programs that emphasize practical, usable skills, blended with a relevant general education foundation. We have a caring environment with personal attention and close faculty-student interaction with an open-door admission policy. We are Florida's oldest private truck driving school, state-of-the-art training facilities with our 1.25 mile multi-lane highway that ensures safer, more efficient training. We've graduated over 40,000 students since 1978. So you might ask yourself, why drive a truck for a living? Simply put, job security. And speaking of job security, I'd like to invite Frank to join us at this time to tell us a little bit about his wonderful company, Covenant Logistics. Thanks for joining us tonight, Frank.
Yeah, no problem. How you doing, Kayla?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Looking forward to coming up to see your students in a couple of weeks and
Absolutely.
looking forward to doing the webinar with you.
Yeah, we always love having you. So tell us a little bit about Covenant. Want to start with like the history of the company?
Yeah, so David and Jacqueline Parker founded it in '86. Since then, we've been predominantly team operated trucks. We do have quite a lot of solo operations now. We've specialized in training, so once students get their CDL and come out of truck driving school, we're one of those companies that take them in with no experience and train them up and get them a good career.
That's great. So as far as you said, the company's been in business since 1986, so that's great. I love that.
Yeah.
So as far as opportunities for drivers, I love hearing that you guys take people right out of school.
Yeah, so like I say, I have quite a lot of options for them. We have a very comprehensive training program. So once they finish with your school and get their CDL, if they decide to come into Covenant, they would go out with one of our trainers and complete 145 hours of training. That's 145 hours of driving out there with their trainer at Covenant. During that period, we pay them a salary of $700 a week without hazmat and $725 with the hazmat. Now, if they do come in without the hazmat, we will assist them to get it. We'll get them back to their home state while they're out there with their trainer to get that fingerprint and background process started. And Covenant will also pay for that while they're on the truck with the trainer.
Wow, that's awesome. So, what kind of freight do you guys haul as far as what the
Pretty much,
drivers can expect?
yeah, pretty much anything that you think you can put into a dry van or a refrigerated trailer. We don't have flatbeds, we don't have tankers. So we haul for obviously the major companies out there, your Walmarts, your Home Depots, your Dollar Generals, Amazon, UPS, FedEx, pretty much anything you think you can put into a dry van.
Fantastic. Now, what kind of is this? This is going to be over the road, right? Because I mean, you're doing team driving, so typically that's coast to coast kind of drives. Is that
It
what most of
is,
your
yeah.
drivers can expect?
Yeah, it is. And even with our solo drivers, now just sort of back up a little bit. So once they finish with the training program, we do require our drivers to team up with another co-driver
Okay.
for the next 90 days after they've finished their training. Um, Now, the reason we do that is we find it basically you don't learn everything out there in those 145 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So we find it puts out a more skilled driver for those that do opt to go solo after the 90 days. They're a lot more, say, a lot more skilled and a lot more competent and confident, to go on to that next stage. But yeah, we do
Absolutely.
specialize in the team driving. With our company, we don't have in the Florida area, we don't have what they call local freight. So where
Okay.
we'd be home daily or multiple times a week. Most of our drivers are out for a week or 2 weeks at a time minimum.
Okay, so that's understandable. So if they're out that 2 weeks at a time minimum, what kind of home time can they expect?
Right, so we offer 1 day off, pretty much like most companies.
Hmm.
We offer 1 day off for every 6 days that they're out on the road,
Okay.
and they can accumulate those out. So a lot of our drivers that are in a position to like to stay out about a month at a time, which if they stay out for those 30 days at a time, they get to take 5 days off when they take their home time. But of
Absolutely.
course, not everyone can do that. So what a lot of our drivers decide to do is, let's say, leave out on a Monday with their co-driver, drive out through that following weekend, and then go home the following Friday. So they've been out 12 days, they take the weekend off, and they just repeat that process.
Fantastic. Now, what about um, different military perks that you guys might offer for our veterans?
Yeah.
We get a lot of veterans that come through school here.
Yeah, we have a very, yeah, we've hired quite a few of your military guys as well. We specialize in that. So we do offer if they're using the GI Bill,
Hmm.
we do offer the 1 and the 2 year program. If they choose to use both years, they can do. If they just choose use the first year, it's not a problem. So basically with that is we credit any of the military guys, if you just stop it just there at the moment,
Hmm.
if there are any of those codes there, like an 88 mic or 35 double X, we can credit them with 100% of their time served.
Wonderful.
Now, if they weren't primarily drivers in the military,
Hmm.
we can offer them 50% of time served. And what it actually means is, whereas our team drivers that are non-military, once they start their team driving for the first 60 days, they get 65 cents per mile for split miles. Then after 60 days, it moves up to 72 cents per mile.
Okay.
After 6 months, it moves up to 76 cents per mile. After a year, it moves up to 80 cents per mile.
Very
Now,
nice.
whereas the military guys, now providing they've served at least 2 years, which the majority of them will always have,
Yeah.
what it actually means to them, once they finish on that 700 and 725 salary while training, they jump straight to the 80 cents per mile with the hazmat.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for them.
Absolutely. Now, talking about benefits and things like that, what kind of benefits can a driver with Covenant look at?
Right, so we have medical, dental, and vision
Mhm.
available to them, and it's done through Cigna. It's available after 60 days with Covenant, and there's three categories of it. They can have it for themselves only, themselves and spouse, or themselves and family. Now, we also have a 401k. It's available to them after 6 months with the company. Now, we do have a match program. Covenant matches 50%, of the first 5% of their paycheck that they opt to put into the 401k. So yeah, we have some great benefits.
That's wonderful. So one thing we get a lot of questions about from our students is tuition reimbursement. Does Covenant cover any of that?
Yes, we do. Yeah, it's on the page there if anyone's looking at it. So it's $250 a month. They start getting the first payment after 30 days with Covenant, and that continues each month up until we've paid them back the price of the truck driving school. Now, and you'll see there it's up to a total of $10,000. Now, there's not many people that are going to be paying $10,000, but the reason we put it up to that figure is because we even take into account if they took out a loan or if they took out finance for it, we'll, we'll,
Absolutely.
we'll cover the full amount.
That's wonderful. So you're even helping out with that interest that they might accrue.
hmm
Fantastic. Now, what kind of equipment, like what kind of trucks does Covenant have?
So we mainly use the Freightliner Cascadias.
Oh, good trucks.
Yeah, the reason we do that, we find that one of the most economical out there. And obviously, as we all know, with the price of fuel, you'll see them all lined up there. With the price of fuel, obviously, you know, if you can save a half a mile per gallon on the amount of miles our trucks do, that's why we,
Absolutely.
that's why we can pay those good cents per mile. Now, the average age of our trucks right now is about 27 months old. So it is one of the youngest fleets out there. So if they do decide to come to Covenant, they will be driving some good modern equipment.
That's wonderful. Now, what's something that might make Covenant stand out? Particularly, let's talk about like their safety, the safety side of things. What's something that would make them stand out compared to another company as far as safety goes? Because we all know that that's the most important thing.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, we pride ourselves on our safety. I have a great safety team at Covenant. Now we don't tend to think about this too much down here in Florida, but one of the main things is obviously inclement or winter weather conditions.
Okay.
So with Covenant, we use what we call macros, and some of your guys will get to learn a bit more about them if they attend your school or once they get into trucking a little bit more.
Hmm.
And it's basically on our Qualcomm system in the truck. If any of our drivers, for whatever reason, it doesn't matter if it's high winds, heavy rains, or those winter conditions, if they decide that they don't like driving in those conditions, because like I say, down here in Florida, you know yourself, some of the students that we get to speak to and some of the students in your school have never even seen snow, only on
Absolutely.
TV, you know?
Unless driving it in a tractor trailer.
Exactly, yeah. So if they don't feel comfortable, they send in what we call a macro 39 and they let their fleet manager know the conditions and, they don't feel safe. So we get them to find the next safest area to park. Now, that's not an off ramp or an on ramp, that's a proper rest area or a proper truck stop. And
Yeah.
just update the fleet manager with when you think you'll be moving again. Now, obviously, a lot of us have smartphones now and tablets, and we can get online and see on the AccuWeathers or weather.com. We can see when that weather should be going through, so we can give quite a good accurate idea of when you think you're going to be rolling again, and just keep your fleet manager updated. I mean, it's not going to affect you. You're not going to get in trouble for it. We realize everyone's got different comfort levels. So that's one of the major things we do on the safety side.
Fantastic. I love that. That's something different you don't hear about very often.
hmm
Now, what if a driver is coming into you and they want to do team driving, but they don't have a partner?
Yeah, we'll help them with that. Quite often, and I do mention this in my presentations in my schools and obviously at yours as well.
Mhm.
Quite often, it's quite nice to actually decide to team up with someone in the truck driving school because they've spent those 3-4 weeks together and got to
Yeah.
know each other. Now, if that's what they wish to do, we're one of the few companies that will actually train them together. Now, that's not always the way that they would come into Covenant. So if they come in on their own, we
Hmm.
help them to find a compatible co-driver. We don't just put two people together just because they started at the same time, because you either do or don't want a male or female co-driver. You either
Yeah.
do or don't want a smoking co-driver. but they obviously want someone with the same work ethic, because if they're one of those ones that want to stay out there for those, let's say 30 days at a time,
Hmm.
they don't want to be with someone who needs to be home every 2 weeks, because that would cut down their earning potential. So
Absolutely.
what we do in that instance, because we take our trucks home, we draw up a list of compatible drivers within 100 miles of where they each live, because that helps us when we're arranging those home times. So we help them through that process.
Fantastic. So what happens if they are with a driver or co-driver and they're just not meshing? How does that work? Are they able to switch out drive partners, or are they kind of stuck with them?
No, not at all. No, that happens. I mean, just because you get on with someone for the first couple of weeks or the first
Yeah,
couple of months doesn't mean that's always going to continue.
absolutely.
You want to be a successful team out there. Now, the way I do it in my presentations, I say to them, look, don't leave it to the stage where you want to rip each other's head off. You'll know way before then that it's not working out. Communicate that to your fleet manager. You may have already found another company driver that you prefer to drive with, and communicate that to your fleet manager. We'll get those trucks together and we'll get you swapped over. Yeah, that's not a problem.
Fantastic. So, is there anything else that you would like to cover as far as what Covenant has to offer for these drivers?
I guess one of the main things, a lot of people coming into the trucking industry realize that it's an over the road position. So we get the question quite often, what happens if there's an emergency, like a
Hmm.
family emergency or something? Well, there's two ways that we deal with that. Sometimes we just get something crops up and we have to be home within 2 or 3 days to get it resolved. In
Okay.
those instances, what we do is what we call a repower. So basically, if they were heading west and they need to get back to Florida to get something sorted out within a couple of days, we'll get them to meet with one of our trucks that's got a load heading east. We'll swap those trailers over and they'll basically head back to get that issue sorted. Now, there's obviously the other side where there could be a dire emergency. You need to
Hmm.
be home a lot quicker than that. Or we have what we have our benevolence fund.
Okay.
It's a voluntary contribution of $1 per week. I recommend everyone joins it. I've been with Covenant 15 years. I've been paying in for 15 years. Thankfully, I haven't had to use it, but I know it's there if I need to. Um, I will give you an instance of where that was used, and it's one of my friends, basically one of our trainers, Chuck. He lives in West Virginia,
Okay.
and he was out in California when unfortunately his father-in-law passed away.
Oh no.
Well, now he's got to get back to West Virginia to help the
Yeah.
family out and be supportive and everything like that.
Absolutely.
So the benevolence fund paid for the cab to the airport and paid for his flight home. Once everything was all taken care of, and however long that takes, they basically paid for the flight back to get with his truck, and then off he went back out there on the road. So
Oh, that's wonderful.
that's good peace of mind.
That is a great peace of mind. Well,
Hmm.
at this point, let's open up the phone lines to some questions. I do have one already in the question box here. They're asking if team driving is mandatory.
It is for the first 90 days, yeah. And as I say, the reason we do that is for safety reasons. As I say, you don't learn everything out there in those 145 hours with the trainer. So
Absolutely.
basically, going into that next phase with a peace of mind of having a co-driver, even just for doing the backing maneuvers, they've got someone to watch that blind side, and they'll obviously do the
Absolutely.
same for their co-driver. But not just that, coming into those new cities and towns, looking for those new shippers and receivers. It's obviously a big vehicle out there. Two sets of eyes better than one. So, I do recommend it. So, like I say, once they finish that 90 days teaming, it's up to them at that point. They have two choices. They can either continue teaming. Teaming's where you make the better money out there. So if they do enjoy it and they want to stay out there teaming, not a problem. If it's not for them, they then have the option to go solo.
Fantastic. Does anybody else have any questions for Frank? You can either type them in or you can raise your hand and I'll unmute you. Nelson, let's see here. Nelson, you can go ahead and click the unmute button on your end and you can ask your question.
Good evening. I was just wondering if you can go a little bit more in depth on the military part. I know that you were covering and saying that they will give up to half of your service. Is that just for those MOSs or just in general?
No, no. So the ones that were transportation based get 100% of their time served. The ones that aren't transportation or weren't transportation based, they get 50% of their time served. So, but either way, as long as you served at least 2 years in the military, you go directly to that top rate of pay of 80 cents straight off the trainer's truck. Now, this is providing you've been discharged within 7 years. Okay.
Okay.
Now, also on the back of that, if they're using the GI Bill, I think I brushed on it a little bit earlier. So basically, while you're doing that first year OJT through the VA, you qualify for that housing stipend. So we help you set that up so you get that for your 12 months OJT. Now we also offer the 1 and the 2 year program. It's up to you if you wish to use both or if you wish to save the second year for some other kind of training in your future. The only thing I will explain, and I'm not going to tell any of the military guys anything they don't already know, the VA is not the quickest at getting that ball rolling, unfortunately. But with Covenant, we only have one person that deals with the VA, so it does tend to speed that process up a little bit.
Now, does the Voc rehab, does that also cover it as well, or is it just the GI?
Is the Voc rehab? Yeah, no, I think it's both that covers it. It's your post Montgomery bill and the post 9/11.
No, the Voc rehab is
VA vocational rehab.
yeah, it's a little
Nelson,
bit different,
I tell
but
you what,
similar.
Frank's going to be here with us in person next Friday. So I highly
Okay.
encourage you whenever he's here, like we talked about yesterday, come in and sit and talk with him because that'll give Frank an opportunity to kind of maybe get the answer to that question. What'd you say, Frank?
No, 100%. Yeah, I hadn't heard there was a different program out there, so I will check on that for you and make sure that if I'll definitely get you the answer. I would imagine it would do, but I say I don't have a definitive on it, and I don't want to tell you something that may be wrong.
Okay, I appreciate it.
No, no problem. Thank you, Nelson.
All right. Did anybody else have any other questions? If so, you can raise your hand. I'll be happy to call on you. We did get a question in the question box here about, do you guys have a pet policy?
We do, yeah. So with the pet policy, a lot of companies are going away from their pet policies because there's been quite a few related incidents and accidents due to
Mm-hmm.
the distraction factor, but we're keeping ours. And
Okay.
with our one, it's a $10 per week payment up
Okay.
until they've paid into a fund of $750. And the reason we do that is part of that goes towards the added insurance policy
Mm-hmm.
because of the distraction factor. But
Absolutely.
also, yeah, also when we take that truck off them to give them a brand new one,
Mm-hmm.
we may not be trading it out at that point. We may be giving it to another driver coming into the company. So we're probably going to have to detail that quite a bit more than a regular truck because obviously some people have pet allergies. But yes, we do.
Fantastic. All right. Any other questions for Frank? All right, Frank, I think we're all set with you tonight. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We always love having you on and love having you here and working with our students. Appreciate you taking time out of your evening and joining us tonight.
No problem. Thank you very much, Kayla. I look forward to seeing your students in a couple of weeks in person.
Yes, sir. We'll see you then. Have a great evening.
Will do. Take care. Bye bye.
Bye bye. All right, everybody. So we're going to keep going on with our side of the webinar here, going over some different details about our school here at National Training. So with our trucks, we have thousands of drivers that have had their very first truck driving experience in our trucks. I actually talked with our class yesterday and asked how many of them had been in a truck before. And out of the whole class, there was only like 2 or 3 people. So most people have never even been up in a truck before, among the less driving one. We have everything from cab over engines with sleepers, conventional condos, sleepers, and day cabs. If you've never seen the inside of a tractor trailer, especially those sleeper cabs, this might be something what it looks like. You're going to have your pilot's seat or your captain's chair, your co-pilot, You're going to have a bunk. A lot of times those will fold up so where you have a table, lots of storage because you want to have a place to put everything. You're living in this truck essentially. Always you're going to have a nice comfortable seat. Those companies want you to be in a nice comfortable seat while you're driving because you have to be in it for an extended period of time. Most companies do provide a TV, your microwave, maybe a mini fridge. They'll have an inverter so that you can use those normal household plug-in plugs instead of those like car charger type things. With tables, a lot of time that co-pilot seat will swivel around so you can use it for seating. Again, ample storage because you want to have somewhere to put everything and keep it secure. Different driving jobs, you can haul freights of all different kinds. Some companies remain in a primarily specified area of the country. Most companies are going to offer weekly home time, great pay, steady runs, and company benefits. This is based on the 2019 to 2020 U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics. Your general freight trucking average annual salary 46,250. Honestly, I will say that's probably on the lower end, but we got to go with what the Bureau of Labor Statistics is still publishing. For school qualifications, we are going to review your driving record. That's super important with us, given we're going to be putting you behind the wheel of a tractor trailer. Your criminal background, your physical abilities. Every student that comes here has to take a drug screening. And most important, we want to know your intensity to succeed. We ensure that you can benefit from this training before you start. We're going to make sure that you are employable because that is the ultimate goal here is gainful employment. We do have a 4-week residence hands-on training. Lots of interaction with our instructors, great instructor to student ratio. We have a wonderful 350-acre campus here. Again, we've been around for almost 44 years. We have this fantastic 1.25 mile track that we take a lot of pride in. This track is a great tool for your training. You're learning how to drive that tractor trailer, especially it being a manual transmission, in a controlled environment before you're dealing with other cars on the road. We also have a state-of-the-art simulator that we utilize with all of our classes. Anything from backing to road time to different maneuvers that you're going to be doing in those trucks. You can make it where you can learn how to adjust to inclement weather, having a flat tire, things of all that nature. It's a great tool. Our career services department, we have a placement process that we've been perfecting for over 43 years, and it really does work. We start working with the students on the very first day of resident training school. That's actually my department here. So I start working with you from day one on how to obtain gainful employment upon your completion with our course. And it is a lifetime job placement assistance for all of our graduates. We use everything from one-on-one private counseling sessions to direct our students to companies that would be a good match for both the company and the student. We always have multiple companies come in and talk to our classes as well. We also have a job board that we update weekly with companies and job listings throughout the country, not just here in Florida, so that any of our alumni or our students are able to utilize this tool. You might ask, where are you going to stay if you're coming from out of town? We get a lot of students from out of town, and we always love that. Really, you can stay anywhere you want, but if you're looking for the best deal, we definitely suggest the Green Cove Springs, and it's about 7 miles from our training facility. All of the rooms come with a microwave, a refrigerator, free cable with HBO, and free Wi-Fi that's really fast. So if you're a gamer and you want to bring your PlayStation or Xbox, you can bring that and definitely have no issues getting on the internet or your laptop, whatever it may be. Our students do get special rates. A double occupancy room where you're rooming with another student is going to be $902 for the 4 weeks that you're here. Breaks down to about $34 a night. Or a single occupancy room is about $12.89 for 4 weeks. The cost, fees, and financing for our school here, the tuition is $7,495. We do offer a lot of different options for financing, whether it be outside financing, workforce, vocational rehab, the veterans, TAA, income share agreements. More specifically, we deal with MIA share. in-house financing, and then as Frank mentioned, that tuition reimbursement, which is a great resource for all these companies that come to talk to you. After all, we've been doing this for a very long time. It's all good. We have it all. We have the companies and the jobs with relationships with over 150 different companies. We have the industry recognition. We have impeccable governmental relations. We have guaranteed tuition financing for everyone. And we have over 40,000 graduates that came possibly before you. We have a program that's really fun to complete. They have a lot of fun out there. And we have an awesome training facility, as you saw in that aerial shot. We always appreciate the students that come from the Department of Veterans Affairs program, Department of Vocational Rehab programs, state vocational rehab programs, state workforce programs, and the Bureau of Indian Affairs. National training is where trucking companies come for new drivers. I get phone calls daily about looking for new drivers. So these are just a handful of the companies that we deal with on a regular basis. At this time, I'd like to see if anybody has any questions regarding our school here. If you do, you can either type it in your question box or you can raise your hand and I'll be happy to help you. Any questions at all? All right, so while we're waiting to see if anybody has any questions, I'm going to go through a few more things with you guys tonight. A few special announcements. Our next truck webinar is going to be August 2nd. That's 2 weeks from tonight, guys. 6:30 p.m. We're going to have our special guest, John Hine with TMC. Susan, I saw your hand go up. Did you have a question? So you can go ahead and click your microphone where you can unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
I can.
Okay. I'm a low-tech girl in a high-tech world.
That's okay.
So I already kind of know your school is not, I'm in California, your school is not here.
Okay.
So you don't provide a place, apparently, as we just saw the motels, to put me up for school. Is that correct?
So we do have a special going on where if you pay for the school in full, we will cover the hotel for you. So that is an option for you. You know, whether it would be you paid cash in full or if you were to get a loan elsewhere and then use that to pay for the school, we'll cover the hotel for you. Otherwise, it would be that $902 for the 4 weeks.
And then that's divided between the two people?
No, that would be each person.
Okay. And so the company Covenant we were just talking with,
Yes.
they would reimburse in full the cost of the school?
They do reimburse the full cost of the school, yes.
And how long did it take? How long do you have to work for them to get the reimbursement?
So they just pay you on a monthly basis. So if you were to leave before they paid you off, it would just stop then.
And do you remember what that monthly was?
It's $250 a month.
A month.
Yep.
And for $7,400 is your school about, you said?
Correct. $74.95.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
we've
then
got a
just
lot of great options for it.
Yeah, which I don't want to take up too much time for that.
No,
But
you're fine.
I'm a type 1 insulin dependent diabetic and trying to figure out the process to even before I even go through all this.
Yeah.
I'm seeing things that might disqualify me, so do you have any information on that process that I could maybe talk to you another time so I don't take up class time?
Yeah. So actually, I'm gonna type in the chat here a phone number for my general manager. He is
Okay.
pretty up to date on that. I know as of recently that was just put into where people who are type 1 insulin dependent are able to get a DOT physical. There's just some waivers that you have to have filled out. Basically, your doctor, your primary care physician, whoever monitors your diabetes, is vouching that yes, you are stable on your insulin. You're not having any issues. Because basically, they're just trying to make sure that you're not going to go into diabetic shock or anything like that while you're driving. So that's just kind of what the gist of it is.
Okay. So did you type it in?
I'm about to right now.
Okay.
So definitely, you can give him a shout tomorrow.
Okay.
And he can definitely help you out. And his name is Andrew. Otherwise, I would definitely look into, there's a lot of information online about it as far as FMCSA, which is the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration.
What was that one?
FM, like F as in Frank, M is in Mary, C is in cat, S is in Sam, A is in apple.
Okay.
I would definitely look on their site and see what they have posted as of recently, because like I said, I know it has changed a lot here in the recent past.
Okay. Okay, and what is the address of your school? The truck, the school, the trucking school.
Yeah, I'll type that in the chat as well, just because it can get a little confusing.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Great question, Susan. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? All right, let me finish typing this address in here. It's kind of long. All right, there is the address for you, Miss Susan.
Okay, and I would like to know how long, because as I've been checking these schools, how long do you actually have time with the trainers?
So
You know,
it's a 180-hour course. So you're with the trainer the majority of that time, whether it be on backing or on driving on the road, or in the classroom with your lead instructor. There's always
you
a trainer
personally,
around.
each student, how much time do you actually have with a trainer? Because now a lot of schools you're waiting, somebody ride with you,
Like I said, it's the majority of that 180 hours.
and it's one-on-one.
Not one-on-one. It's usually a 4 student per instructor, in the driving trucks. But even if you're a passenger in the truck, you're still constantly learning. So our trucks, instead of having that bunk in the back, we have 3 additional air ride seats. So whenever there's a student driving, there's 3 students in the back seat that are there to listen and observe and learn from what that driver's doing.
Awesome. And
Yeah.
that's how all the trucks are, even the ones
Yep.
that you. Yeah.
Yeah, all
Oh,
of our
okay.
road trucks are like that. Our
Yeah, those.
backing trucks aren't going to have the 3 additional, but there's usually a couple extra seats in there. And whenever you're not driving, you're walking next to the truck. If you're on the backing pad, you're walking with the instructor next to the truck to hear how they're correcting any issues that student's having.
Okay, cool,
Yeah, so it's a lot of involvement. It's great.
awesome. Road. I think that's all I have to ask for now.
Absolutely. Well, I'll shoot the phone number up here in just a few minutes for our main line, and you can talk with one of our admissions advisors. Have you dealt with anybody at our school before, Susan?
Just, quickie finding out that they didn't have anything close to me.
Oh, yeah. Well, we train people from all over the country. You got to have your permit before you come, but we can definitely help you out.
Okay,
All right. Thanks so much for joining us tonight, Susan.
thank you.
All right. So just another special announcement. Our next open house event is going to be Saturday, September 17th from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. It's a great time. We always encourage people to bring their family or friends because we have a great show that we put on, kind of. It's a nice presentation that Mr. Andrew does, as well as getting everybody up in a truck to go for a ride. We can even put you on some of our heavy equipment as well. I would like to thank each and every one of you for joining our webinar this evening. If you haven't done so, please contact our admissions office first thing tomorrow. That phone number is 1-800-488-7364. Your lost time is costing you big money. It's all good. Just make sure you call. Thank you guys so much for joining me tonight. In order to exit the webinar tonight, you'll go up to File, Exit, Leave Webinar. Again, that's File, Exit, Leave Webinar. Have a great night, everybody.